In the ancient lands of the Near East, where empires rose and fell like the tides of the great rivers, a prophet named Hosea emerged as a voice of divine anguish and unyielding love. His story, woven into the fabric of Israel's turbulent history, unfolds as a profound tale of deceit, betrayal, and ultimate reconciliation. This is the Eternal Covenant, a narrative that mirrors the human heart's frailty and the boundless mercy of the divine. As we delve into Hosea's world, we uncover not just the events of a distant past, but timeless truths about faith, fidelity, and forgiveness. Let us begin by setting the stage in the 8th century before the Common Era, a period of profound upheaval in the ancient kingdom of Israel. The land, once united under the legendary kings David and Solomon, had fractured into two realms after Solomon's death around 931 BCE. The southern kingdom, Judah, with its capital in Jerusalem, clung to the Davidic dynasty and the Grand Temple as symbols of continuity and divine favor. But to the north lay the kingdom of Israel, often called Samaria or Ephraim, after its prominent tribe and capital city. This northern realm, established by Jeroboam I in rebellion against Solomon's son Rehoboam, spanned fertile valleys, bustling trade routes, and strategic hillsides from Bethel in the south to Dan under King Jeroboam II, who reigned from approximately 793 to 753 BCE. The northern kingdom experienced a golden age of prosperity that masked deep-seated decay. Jeroboam II, a capable military leader, expanded Israel's borders, reclaiming territories lost to Aram Damascus and pushing influence as far as the Euphrates River. Trade flourished along the Via Maris, the ancient highway connecting Egypt to Mesopotamia, bringing wealth from spices, textiles, and metals. Cities like Samaria grew opulent, with ivory-inlaid palaces and terraced vineyards yielding abundant harvests. Archaeological excavations at sites like Megiddo and Hazor reveal fortified gates, storehouses brimming with grain, and evidence of a thriving economy driven by olive oil production and horse breeding for chariotry. Yet beneath this veneer of success lurked moral and spiritual corruption. The people had drifted far from the covenant established at Sinai, where Moses had proclaimed the Lord's commandments amid thunder and fire. Idolatry permeated society, blending Yahweh worship with Canaanite practices, inherited from the land's indigenous peoples. At the royal sanctuaries in Bethel and Dan, golden calves, reminiscent of Jeroboam, these innovations stood as focal points of devotion, ostensibly representing Yahweh, but veering dangerously into pagan symbolism. These calves, cast in molten gold and adorned with offerings, echoed the ancient Near Eastern veneration of bull deities like El or Baal, symbolizing strength and fertility. Baal worship in particular seduced the Israelites with its promises of agricultural bounty. Baal, the storm god of the Canaanites, was invoked for rain and fruitful crops through rituals that included sacred prostitution at high places, elevated shrines dotted across hills and groves. Priestesses and priests engaged in fertility rites, believing such acts would ensure the land's productivity. Hosea would later decry these practices as spiritual adultery, a betrayal of the exclusive bond with Yahweh. Economically, this era saw stark inequalities. Wealthy elites amassed land through usury and corrupt judgments, dispossessing small farmers and widening the gap between rich and poor. Prophets like Amos, a contemporary of Hosea from the southern village of Tekoa, thundered against such injustices, warning that opulent banquets in ivory houses would crumble under divine judgment. Politically, the northern kingdom navigated a precarious world dominated by superpowers. To the northeast loomed the Assyrian Empire, a juggernaut under kings like Tiglath-Pileser III, who ascended in 745 BCE and initiated campaigns of conquest. Assyria's military machine, with iron weapons, siege engines, and a policy of mass deportation, struck terror across the region. Israel, caught between Assyria and Egypt, oscillated in alliances, often paying tribute to buy time. Hosea's prophecies foreshadow the inevitable. Assyria would swallow Israel whole, scattering its people in 722 BCE under Shalmaneser Firth and Sargon the Setter. This catastrophe, the fall of Samaria after a 3-year siege, marked the end of the northern kingdom, with thousands exiled to distant lands like Halah and Gozan, as recorded in Assyrian annals and the biblical Book of Kings. Into this maelstrom stepped Hosea, son of Beeri, a man whose personal life became a living parable of God's relationship with his people. Little is known of Hosea's background beyond the biblical text. He may have hailed from the northern tribes, perhaps Ephraim, given his intimate knowledge of its landscapes and sins. Unlike Amos, a shepherd and fig farmer, or Isaiah, a courtly figure in Judah, Hosea appears as a deeply emotional prophet, his words laced with pathos and poetry. His ministry spanned decades, from the prosperous days of Jeroboam II through the chaotic reigns of Zechariah, Shallum, Menahem, Pekahiah, Pekah, and Hoshea, the last kings of Israel, many assassinated in palace intrigues amid Assyrian pressures. The Lord's call to Hosea was extraordinary, commanding him to embody the divine message through his own heartache. Go, take to yourself a wife of whoredom, and have children of whoredom, the Lord instructed, for the land commits great whoredom by forsaking the Lord. Thus Hosea married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, a woman whose promiscuity symbolized Israel's unfaithfulness. Scholars debate Gomer's exact nature. Was she a temple prostitute, a wayward villager, or simply a figure prone to infidelity? Some, like the ancient Rabbi Maimonides, interpreted the marriage allegorically, suggesting it was a visionary experience rather than literal. Modern interpreters, such as Hans Walter Wolff in his commentary, argue for its historicity, emphasizing how Hosea's real suffering amplified the prophetic impact. Their union produced 3 children, each named prophetically to herald judgment. The first, a son called Jezreel, evoked the Valley of Jezreel, site of bloody massacres under kings like Ahab and Jehu. "Call his name Jezreel," God said, "for yet a little while, and I will punish the house of Jehu for the blood of Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel." This name, meaning God sows, foretold both destruction and future sowing of restoration. Imagine Hosea cradling his infant son, whispering this ominous name amid the bustling markets of Samaria, where merchants haggled over Phoenician dyes and Egyptian linens, oblivious to impending doom. Next came a daughter, Ruhamah, meaning no mercy or not pitied. "Call her name Ruhamah," the Lord commanded, "for I will no more have mercy on the house of Israel to forgive them at all." Yet in a glimmer of hope, mercy would still extend to Judah, hinting at the southern kingdom's survival. The child's name pierced like a dagger, reflecting God's grief over a people who had spurned his compassion. In an era where names carried destiny, think of Jacob renamed Israel after wrestling with God, Hosea's family became a walking sermon, drawing stares and whispers from neighbors. The third child, another son named Ammi, signified, "Not my people." "Call his name Ammi," God declared, "for you are not my people and I am not your God." This reversal of the covenant formula, "I will be your God, and you shall be my people," echoed from Exodus, underscored the breach. Yet even here, prophecy pivoted to promise. "Yet the number of the people of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea. And in the place where it was said to them, 'You are not my people,' it shall be said to them, 'Sons of the living God.'" Hosea's household, fractured by Gomer's infidelities, mirrored Israel's dalliances with foreign gods. As the marriage unraveled, Gomer pursued lovers, abandoning Hosea and the children. Chapter 2 of Hosea's book paints a vivid courtroom scene, with God accusing Israel through the metaphor. Plead with your mother. Plead, for she is not my wife, and I'm not her husband, that she put away her whoring from her face, and her adultery from between her breasts. The imagery is raw, evoking the stripping of a wayward spouse in ancient divorce rituals. God threatens to expose Israel's nakedness, turning fertile lands to wilderness, slaying her with thirst. I will strip her naked, and make her as in the day she was born, the prophecy thunders, recalling Israel's vulnerable birth as a nation in the desert. Yet amid judgment, tenderness emerges. God allures Israel into the wilderness to speak tenderly, restoring vineyards and betrothal in righteousness. And in that day, declares the Lord, you will call me my husband, and no longer will you call me my Baal. This shift from Baal, meaning lord or husband in Canaanite, to the intimate Ishi underscores purification from idolatry. Scholars like Yvonne Sherwood, in her feminist readings, critique the patriarchal violence in these metaphors, noting how the female body symbolizes national sin, raising questions about gender in prophetic literature. In chapter 3, Hosea's obedience reaches its zenith. Go again, love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulteress, the Lord commands, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, though they turn to other gods. Hosea redeems Gomer, perhaps from slavery or a lover's grasp, for 15 shekels of silver and a homer and a lethek of barley, a paltry sum reflecting her degraded state. He brings her home but withholds intimacy. For many days you shall dwell with me. You shall not play the whore or belong to another man, so will I also be to you. This period of abstinence symbolizes Israel's exile, a time of purification before restoration. On this, consider the cultural context of marriage in ancient Israel. Weddings involved betrothal contracts, often arranged for economic alliances, with brides veiled and processions lit by torches. Adultery warranted severe penalties under Mosaic law, stoning in Deuteronomy, yet Hosea's forgiveness defies norms, illustrating divine grace. Comparisons to other ancient texts, like the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh with its themes of loss and redemption, highlight Hosea's uniqueness in using personal narrative for theology. Turning to the oracles in chapters 4 through 14, Hosea's prophecies dissect Israel's sins with surgical precision. Hear the word of the Lord, O people of Israel, for the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, he proclaims. There is no faithfulness or steadfast love, and no knowledge of God in the land. There is swearing, lying, murder, stealing, and committing adultery. They break all bounds, and bloodshed follows bloodshed. This litany echoes the 10 Commandments, indicting a society rotten from priest to peasant. The priests, meant to teach Torah, instead profited from sin. They feed on the sin of my people. They are greedy for their iniquity. At high places like Gilgal and Beth-aven, a derogatory name for Bethel, meaning house of wickedness, sacrifices mingled Yahweh's name with Baal's rites. Hosea warns, Ephraim is joined to idols, leave him alone. Archaeological finds such as the Kuntilet Adrud inscriptions blending Yahweh and Asherah corroborate this syncretism. Economically, Hosea critiques the exploitation fueling prosperity. They have made kings, but not through me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. With their silver and gold they made idols for their own destruction. The unstable throne, 6 kings in 20 years after Jeroboam II, reflected divine displeasure. Menahem, for instance, paid 1,000 talents of silver to Tiglath-Pileser III in 738 BCE, as per Assyrian records, burdening the poor. Technologically, the era saw advancements in warfare and agriculture. Iron plows improved farming, but chariots and fortresses couldn't save from Assyria's battering rams. Hosea uses agrarian imagery. Sow for yourselves righteousness, reap steadfast love, break up your fallow ground, for it is the time to seek the Lord. Yet unrepentance means they sow the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. A phrase entering English idiom, warning of escalating consequences. Hosea's prophecies extend to Judah, urging avoidance of northern pitfalls. Though you play the whore, O Israel, let not Judah become guilty. Some scholars, like Gail Yee, posit Judean redaction, inserting southern perspectives post-722 BCE, when refugees fled south, enriching Jerusalem's culture. A poignant lament in chapter 11 reveals God's paternal heart. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more they were called, the more they went away. They kept sacrificing to the Baals and burning offerings to idols. This verse, quoted in Matthew's Gospel for Jesus' flight to Egypt, bridges Old and New Testaments. God agonizes, "How can I give you up, O Ephraim? How can I hand you over, O Israel? My heart recoils within me, my compassion grows warm and tender." Unlike Admah and Zeboim, cities destroyed with Sodom, Israel will not face utter annihilation. Chapter 12 invokes history, Jacob's wrestling, Moses' leadership to call for repentance. "Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled because of your iniquity." But stubbornness prevails, leading to chapter 13's dire warnings. "O Samaria, your calf is rejected, my anger burns against them." Assyria looms. The east wind shall come, the wind of the Lord rising from the wilderness, and his fountain shall dry up. Yet hope crowns the book. Chapter 14 beckons, "Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God. Take with you words and return to the Lord. Say to him, take away all iniquity, accept what is good, and we will pay with bulls the vows of our lips." God responds, "I will heal their apostasy. I will love them freely, for my anger has turned from them. I will be like the dew to Israel. He shall blossom like the lily." Imagery of flourishing cedars and vines promises renewal. Hosea's influence rippled through history. Jeremiah, a century later, echoed marriage metaphors for Judah's sins. Ezekiel expanded on infidelity themes. In the New Testament, Paul cites Hosea in Romans for Gentile inclusion. "Those who were not my people, I will call my people." The Dead Sea Scrolls preserve Hosea fragments, showing its importance in Qumran's messianic hopes. Historiography debates Hosea's composition. Form critics like Hermann Gunkel saw oral traditions compiled post-exile. Feminist scholars, such as Renita Weems, critique the gendered violence, urging reinterpretation for modern contexts. Controversies persist. Was Gomer's story literal or symbolic? Ancient church fathers like Jerome favored allegory, while reformers like Calvin affirmed historicity. Culturally, Hosea impacted art and literature. Medieval mystery plays dramatized his marriage. Handel's oratorios drew from his poetry. In modern times, films like the Bible series depict his anguish, and novels explore themes of redemptive love. Globally, Hosea's message resonated beyond Israel. Assyrian records confirm deportations, influencing diaspora Judaism. The covenant idea shaped Western Puritan sermons to civil rights speeches invoking divine justice. Regionally, the fall of Israel altered the Levant. Judah absorbed northern traditions, enriching its worship, while Phoenician and Aramaic cultures mingled with exiles. Economically, the loss disrupted trade. Assyria resettled foreigners in Samaria, creating Samaritans, alphabetic hybrid people later scorned in Jesus' time. Preserved Hosea's words, copied by scribes on papyrus and leather. Lesser-known facts, Hosea mentions grey hairs overtaking Ephraim, symbolizing unnoticed decline. Controversies include whether Chapter 3's woman is Gomer or another. Some posit a second marriage for emphasis. Side tangent. Compare to Ugaritic myths, where Baal battles Mot, paralleling Hosea's storm god critiques. Biography of secondary figure Jeroboam II, per Second the Kings, reigned 41 years, but prophets exposed his idolatry despite victories. Modern interpretations. Liberation theologians see Hosea championing the oppressed. Ecologists draw from land imagery for environmental stewardship. In reflecting on Hosea's tale, we see deceit's cost, personal and national, yet divine reconciliation's power. The eternal covenant endures, inviting all to return from wanderings. As Hosea concludes, whoever is wise, let him understand these things. Whoever is discerning, let him know them. For the ways of the Lord are right, and the upright walk in them, but transgressors stumble in them. Thus ends our journey through Hosea's world, a testament to love's triumph over betrayal.